Well, hey everybody, Car Chronicles. You ready? Let's talk about the narcissist in the court system. Ready? I always want you to remember this. The judicial system, or the area of law, is about law, facts, evidence, and you have to know that when a narcissist goes to court with you, that's when they are the greatest actors of all time. Now, for some people, when you're going into the court system, there's a possibility that that narcissist has more money than you do. Or another thing is they do things. Here in the state of Washington, it's called abusive litigation, where they, number one, they smear campaign you. And I don't know the legal terms, but I'll give you some more information at the end of the video. But they smear campaign you. They bring up allegations. They try to make you seem like the unfit parent. But remember this, just like my lawyer told me, when it comes to accusing someone of being an unfit parent, the burden of proof is on the person making the accusations. And the question is do you have police reports? Do you have CPS reports? Is there evidence that can prove in the court that you are an unfit parent? And what he said is that don't worry about the smearing, or the accusations, because he's got to have proof of the accusation. He's got to have evidence. He said people make it seem like it's really hard to snatch kids away from their parents, but it's not that easy unless you have proof. And sometimes, because the person being accused or the parent that is going in and fighting for custody comes in full of emotions, you're playing into the smear campaign. You're playing into the part. The court system is not a place where you release your emotions, you get angry, you fight back and forth, because then what you're doing is you're kind of proving the point that they have made, or the accusations or the lies, just like in the relationship. They've smeared your name and you play into it because you can't get your emotions in check. That's why I advocate for people to seek therapy, especially if you're going through court. Seek therapy, not for the legal aspect, for the emotional aspect, so that you can separate the two. You can't go into the courtroom telling the judge that this is a narcissist. First of all, how do you know this person has narcissistic personality disorder? What is your profession? Just like they did when I had to go to court. As a therapist, I used to work as a family preservation service provider with a private practice with Department of Social Health Services, Child Services, and CPS services. And I had to go to court and I had to take my case files. And the case files were the events that took place during that day when I did the visits. But when I went in, I'm thinking I'm going to present notes. No, they were checking my credentials first to see if I'm a credible person to be talking in the first place. What are your credentials? Are you licensed? What school did you go to? How long did you study? Where did you learn that from? So if they question me, what makes you think they're not going to question you? Car Chronicles, Narcissists in Court, Part 2. Always remember, keep your emotions in check when going to court. I know this is very tragic. I know this is very painful. That's why I keep advocating therapy. Get you a therapist that you can take the emotions to. At the time in court, there's nothing wrong with you crying, but there's something wrong when you're tearing up the court, when you hollering and yelling, or when you got an attitude and a judge is looking at you and you have an attitude. And you'd be surprised that not all people that went into the court, they can have high power attorneys, these narcissists, articulate, have money to pay for lawyers. And some of these people couldn't afford lawyers. Some of these victims and people that have gone to court with a narcissist couldn't afford lawyers. But what happened is they had a good mentor, a good coach that told them what to do and how to act in the courtroom. And the judge was able to see between all the nonsense that this narcissist was doing. That's why on the link, if you look down, of course, you can see it come across the screen. It's on the screen. But if you go to Judge Anthony, his name is Anthony Bumpiani on Instagram. He's got a webinar link. He does a lot of free webinars. And then you can also sign up for some of his webinars that are paid. He actually allows you payment plans. So he wants you to get this information. He's been a family lawyer and he was also a judge for 5 years. He dealt with these type of individuals coming into courtroom, and he gives some practical advice on how to conduct yourself, what to say, what not to say, how to respond to accusations, how to respond to text messages. Some of you go in fighting, and you have to remember they're smearing your name. They're already and then on top of that, they're projecting. Remember, I just did a video on projecting. They're projecting their bad behavior, their thought processes on you. And what happens is they've been around you long enough to know that you'll act it out. And so a lot of you are acting out excuse me, you are acting out what are they accusing you of. And so you don't play into that game, because you're playing into the game when it comes to the court system. The attitude, like I said, the judge is looking right at you. And if it becomes a high conflict case where there's arguing, going back, eventually the judges just make a decision for themselves. And sometimes it doesn't benefit you or the kids. But you have to remember, in most court cases, and I understand, trust me, I understand when you say, but it doesn't benefit, it's not for the good of the child. Okay, but you have to, like I said, you have to find a good lawyer. There's nothing wrong with you finding another lawyer. If that doesn't work, there are people that have I work with clients all the time that actually took it upon themselves to take stuff to court. And they have a mentor that helps them with the process and with the file. And I have also... Did you say that again? My phone, sorry. But I also have advised them, maybe you need to be an advocate. Some of you need to find a good legal advocate, a domestic violence advocate, because they have their reputation in court. Go to part 3. Car Chronicles. Narcissists in Court, Part 3. This is another thing I tell a lot of my clients. If you're trying to get out of the situation with a narcissist and you know that there's going to be some legalities, involved. Number one, for those of you that have no property together, you have nothing together, it's okay for you to leave. There's probably no legality connected to that. Some of you, however, have children by the narcissist. And so you want to get out. And in your mind, and I understand the thought process, in your mind, I'm trying to do the best for my kids. I'm trying to get them out. I'm trying to save my children. However, you have to remember that they'll use that against you too, that you kidnap the children. Then we have an alert, an Amber Alert, and guess what? That's going to play against you in the court system. And so that's why it's good to go find a legal advocate, a domestic violence advocate that can advocate for you in the court system. Number one, they document, and number two, 9 times out of 10, the judges know who these individuals are and what organization they're in and with. And on top of that, a good advocate will also make sure that you're in a separate room, that you're not in the same space. They advocate for you. Don't get an advocate that's afraid to open their mouth. Advocates got to be a little tough. They got to be little thugs every now and then. And not meaning thugs or, go in and want to fight, but they have to be very stern. My friend Bridget Griffin, who's also going to be a speaker at my conference, she's an advocate. She makes sure that they're separate from the room. She makes sure that she asks questions. She makes sure she goes in there. She advocates for the victim, and that's what you need, an advocate. People that keep some documents so they can bring documents in there so you don't lose your children. They're the ones that's able to get you out. There are some that actually relocate people. If it's bad enough, they will relocate the victim and their children. I have helped to relocate people in the past. Use the domestic violence hotline, the National Domestic Violence Hotline. They'll connect you to domestic violence agencies. And I know some of you, hey, this is not going to work because there's no physical violence. Never underestimate, and that's why I tell you guys, if you want to do coaching with me, I will give you key words to use. I will give you some words to use when you are seeking help with a domestic violence advocacy program, a domestic violence program. Sometimes you're not using the correct terminology in order to get the assistance that you need. And that's why coaching, I tell you guys, come to do coaching, because I don't give all the answers out when I do videos. Seems like I do, but I don't give out all the answers. And those that have worked with me in the past have been successful at what they're doing, even through their court processes. Not that I give them legal advice, but I also help them with what to say, what not to say, who to connect with, especially like Judge Bumpiani. Help them to connect with resources. Sorry, my phone keeps answering me, but connect with resources. And so there is a way out. There is legal assistance. There is help. Where there's a will, there's a way. And you're stronger than what you think you are.